A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome one more time, simply with Suparnaa, a series that is trying to unravel the leaders in the impact space, people who are doing good by their own goodwill, by the goodness of their hearts. And today is extremely special because I have a very dear friend who we're going to get to know a little better. But before I bring her on, as is customary, I would like to start by paying my obeisance to the higher power, whatever it is, the higher power that you believe in. But for me, Saraswati Vandana has held me in good stead. या कुंदेन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदंड मंडित करा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्मचुत शंकर प्रभूति भी देवै सदा वंदिता सामां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष Jadyapaha. Succinctly, what this means is help me dispel the darkness of my heart that is residing in terms of ignorance by the light of knowledge and wisdom. And without further ado, I'd like to add onto the stream Miss Roma Balwani. Thank you so much, Roma, for doing this for us. It's been a long time. I had been wanting to do this interaction with you, and I'm glad that you have taken out time to being with us here today.
Good afternoon, Suparnaa, and thank you for having me on this very special program, which is so close to my heart, the topic. And good afternoon to all your viewers, and I look forward to this interaction.
Super. So the reason why we're doing this, Roma, is you're aware that I have been through my career graph interacting with senior leadership all across, and now we want to specifically focus on leaders who are creating an impact in the society that we inhabit. And I see you as one such leader who has held a very successful innings as far as the corporate sector is concerned. And I've also seen you smoothly transition into, from a very dizzying height of corporate success to a very grassroots level NGO and mentoring them. And I'm seeing the difference that is making, with you being on board and a non-profit that probably nobody had even heard of or, let alone interacted with. Thanks to you, it's going places. So before we get to that nonprofit, I definitely want to know you as an individual, and people who may, come down to this interaction looking for you, looking for impact leaders, should know what is it that drives you to do good. So let's start from the beginning. You are, a product of a family that migrated from undivided India earlier, of course, from Sindh, and it must be tough times at that time. So let's start a little bit from there.
So, Suparna, if we go back in time, we were very fortunate that our parents shifted just before the partition. This was in 1945. And they had the advantage of seeing India, which was undivided, and they could, get their roots back in India, which was in Bombay at that time, called Bombay. And my dad could, change his job that he was doing in Sindh. In fact, he was an entrepreneur in Sindh, and his uncle advised him to take on a government job in India. At that time, it was undivided, and he was very fortunate. And with that came the entire family over a period of 2 years. We children were born much later, but when we were born, my elder brother was actually a 1947 midnight child, and I was born later. What we saw was a very happy, joint family which cared for each other, which always had, the roots of Sindh at the same time had assimilated very well in their new surroundings. I think that was the starting point for me to see a family which respected women as much. So it was a very forward looking family. My grandmother came from a time when she got married at 13 with 11 children, lost her husband, and her children looked after her. So she gave us those values. I still remember sitting at her knee and listening to stories of Lord Krishna, of Guru Nanak. So those are the values that possibly we grew up with, and also saw that you need to share. The good part is that every time that we had something, we've always told, please share, because you're in a joint family. It's not just yours, it is for everybody. So the I became a we very fast. I became an us very fast. And I think that's how I grew up. So
How
sharing
beautiful!
and
How
caring.
beautiful! How beautiful, Roma. And during our chit chat yesterday, you also told me that you were not shy of doing work or any kind of work from the very beginning. And your first formal job was at 17 years of age, where kids of your age were partying and have a good time, but you were very conscious of the fact that you have to make a living and you have to I don't know if it was so crystal clear at that point in time, but maybe you were driven to doing something meaningful and purposeful, right?
Yeah, Suparna, actually, what drove me was the discipline that I actually learned at school. And the discipline was that you have to take care of yourself, be more independent. So the school culture really helped me define that for myself. And maybe I was a bit of a rebel as well. And coming from a very forward looking family, we were treated as equals. There's always this funny laugh that we have, that my mother would always say on a dining table, that give Roma the hot chapati and telling my brother, take the next one. So, that was the kind of upbringing. We were treated so well as children. We didn't know that there was a difference, and we didn't even experience that. Coming to the workspace when I went into college, yes, I saw a place which was very frivolous to some extent, but I needed to study. I wanted to make a mark for myself even at that young age. I came back to my parents and I said, look, I'm not enjoying this kind of life that I'm seeing in the college in those days. And I had some very high profile friends who would take me everywhere. And then after 3 months, I decided, no, let me do something meaningful. And my neighbor upstairs said that, Roma, I've just set up a very lovely, kind of I think it was like an emporium. Would you like to go there and work there for a short while and see the ropes, learn what it is? And I said, I'll try. And my father was a little concerned, because those were long hours. If I had to go to morning college, he would drop me to the station, the other station. I would take a train at about 6 o'clock, reach my college, finish my college at about 9 o'clock, then go into that emporium. So you're doing things which actually uh, uh, t- teaches you that everything is not coming to you on a platter, and
Right.
you
So
actually
if we
decided
can if we
that.
can say that you have risen from the ranks, literally from being a sales girl at a small
Yes.
outlet, and risen the ladder of corporate leadership, wherein you've interacted with Mr. Anand Mahindra and Mr. Anil Agarwal, and of course Priya Agarwal, and you've had that kind of a connect and a goodwill built into the industry. But now let's come to the fact that you have been mentoring the India Deaf Cricket Society. Now, I know for a fact when we started out with Sabera, and thanks to you, I was introduced to them. And in the very first edition of Sabera, we acknowledged the work that they're doing, and I'll show a little clipping from there. But how did your bent of mind come in alignment with the disabilities sector? I mean, what was your first exposure that triggered this empathy within you?
I think it was an unconscious attitude that I had when I was in college. I decided to do a volunteering a program at the Fellowship of the Physically Handicapped that was there, situated at Haji Ali in Mumbai. And when I had free time, I would go there and see how these NGOs work. What is the selflessness that they do this work with? Why do they do it? What is it that triggers them? And they would be very surprised that the 17-year-old is coming and sitting with us and observing us and wanting to help. The most important thing was I wanted to help. And that is something which started that whole journey, possibly in an unconscious way, that I should be looking at this karma later on in life after I've had a very successful career. So I think that was the early formative years that possibly gave me that bent of mind from charity to see philanthropy in organizations which moved to CSR, as you rightly said, in Mahindra's. Uh, in Mahindra, that was one thing I really noticed, that everything that the organization did was responsible business. That was the first thing. And when you're doing responsible business, you look at society at large. You do not forget that the society is impacted with your products, with your services. And I think that came very early in my life through my personal experience and then through my professional experience as well.
Yes, Roma, before we delve into your corporate experience, we can already see that there's a lot of comments coming in from our viewers saying Roma's pursuit with purpose for Indian Deaf Cricket Society is really commendable. And I'd like to share some video footage of the Indian Deaf Cricket Society before we proceed further.
Thank you.
मैं जब 2 इयर्स की थी मैंने साइन लैंग्वेज सीखना स्टार्ट किया। जो नॉर्मल पर्सन होते हैं वो ज्यादातर ये होता है कि उन पे हंसते हैं या फिर उनका मजाक उड़ाते हैं।
Temuddin is a good bowler.
Yes,
Huh?
ma'am.
Very nice. I'm super happy to be here with the Delhi team and the Telangana team and the Gujarat team. So thanks to you, I had the opportunity to witness a match, and it was an eye opener for sure, because we all are so engrossed in our lives, and hats off to you, Roma, that at such a young age you developed this empathy for people with disability. In fact, I had the sustainability head of PVR Limited with me last week through this interaction, Sangeeta Robinson, and the fact that a simple thing of going to a movie or having access to entertainment doesn't even cross our mind in case you can't climb up the stairs, say for example. And I've also had the chance to volunteer with Nidhi Arora, who also I interviewed through this session, and the idea of doing this interaction is that it doesn't really matter where you come from, who you are, what stage in life you are in. If you want, you can definitely create a change within your circle of influence. And coming back to your journey in the corporate, career graph, as we can see, it has been somewhere or the other, building up to this moment. If I were to, probably succinctly put it. So tell me, what was it like for you to interact with, say, for example, in your stint with Mahindra, with Mr. Anand Mahindra? Everybody knows him as a business person, but what was your take back?
I think when I joined Mahindra's, this was after my stint in Norway. We came back to India, and I had a lot of global exposure because I worked with, at that time, with the ambassador to Norway, Gopal Krishna Gandhi. And there I saw that India was not well positioned in the IT sector. So we started what was known to bring IT for good for the Norwegians from India. And when I came back, I was full of ideas, and I thought that I could use those experiences that I had in a global context to an organization which at that time was known to be a tractor and an automotive company, but they had spread their wings. They were global, and I said, let me see how I can contribute there. But what I saw when I came into the organization, that apart from the business goals, the most important was that they were a blue chip company, and they were doing a lot of good. And that good was not being translated outside, or people didn't know about that good. I still remember our late Chairman Emeritus, Mr. Keshav Mahindra, who called me and he said that, how are you going to position this? Because we do not talk about the good that we do. And I requested him, I said, Chairman, sir, if you'd allowed me to do it in a manner which is understated, that will at least bring it to the audience, to our stakeholders, that we are with them and we want to do good with them. So the whole journey where we actually augmented the Mahindra proposition, brand proposition to Mahindra Rice, which was then translated to Rice for Good. That was an amazing journey, which was a transformational journey for the organization. And I was very fortunate to be part of it and to be experiencing it. So that
And
was
I
Mr.
think
Anand Mahindra, who actually told us that I am the project manager. I'm happy to take any of the brickbats that come, and I'm happy to give all the bouquets to the team that works very hard. So you can
And
imagine the
Mahindra
time.
Rise has done some amazing work. I mean,
Yes,
and especially with the girl child, the
yes.
education of the girl child. And I don't know, Nanni Kali was also a part of that, right? A very,
Nani
very,
Kali was one of the starting point of the CSR that Anand started when he came in as the CEO, and
yeah.
then that continued to the youth. So that we could look at the youth and education for them. So we started the Mahindra Foundation started the scholarships, which is still going on. So every such movement that Mahindra was doing was not really known to people, and we brought it forward to show how this brand has been very responsible, not only in India but also in the global footprint. And they've
So
always been very grounded. As an organization, they are very grounded.
what I'm hearing is it is extremely important for the leaders themselves to be extremely empathetic and not just do this for the sake of doing a tick mark that you are required by the government as a mandate to do a CSR initiative or be a responsible business. And now, even with ESG, unless it is actually driven by the passion of the leader who is leading a company, it will not create the impact that it is meant to, right? In fact, I'm reminded of that very popular Twitter and tweet of Mr. Anand Mahindra of that cartoon caricature wherein they're showing the stumbling blocks of how a woman has to be on a running track, and how first the laundry comes in, then the child comes in, then the kitchen comes in, and then we say that this is an equitable kind of a race, which definitely it isn't. So I think he also in a way started to do, maybe you had something to do with it, showing his humane side to the public as well,
I think
right?
when we started the rice campaign, and we had one of the best agencies who had actually come forward because they'd seen our Nani Kali website, and they said that you're doing so much and we'd like to contribute. And Scott Goodson, who was the promoter of this company called Strawberry Frog, they were a US based, New York based company. They were surprised with the kind of work that was happening in Mahindra's, and I think they did a good job of bringing this whole uh, attitude which was there, the culture of the organization to the fore. I think it was
Yeah,
earlier a subtext and they brought it to the headline. They helped us do that. They helped us realize. I remember Scott telling us that I'm just showing you a mirror of what you really are. And I'm going to just translate that out. In fact,
right.
recently he shared one of the case studies of Mahindra's, which came in the HBR issue, and he mentioned that in LinkedIn because it's all about purpose,
Sure,
and
sure.
that's where Mahindra's focus has been, that they do business with purpose.
And then how was the transition from Mahindra into Vedanta, considering that Vedanta itself is involved in mining and bauxite mining, and that creates a bit of a challenge. So do you think that in trying to position them as doing good, maybe there is an agenda driven that people think about, and there is really just that greenwashing which happens and actual work is not being done? So what has been your first hand experience there?
So, if you look at a mining company, which is a highly regulated industry, you have to understand that they are. So, at that time, Vedanta was a London listed company when I joined them. And I saw that they had the best practices that they had to comply with, and as well as they had to make sure that they uh, communicate that with their socially responsible investors, because they have investors across the globe. And I saw that their systems and processes were so robust. But you must understand, for a mining company, the best of them, they always have people who have agendas against, because they feel that while they get jobs through the mining companies, their lives are made better, but there is always an external force of agendas of people who possibly do not want the country to prosper, do not want the state to prosper, who bring in these kind of roadblocks or bottlenecks. I went inside the organization and I took that up as a challenge. And I said, we have to show the good that the organization is doing. And I think the first thing I learned from Mr. Anil Agarwal was that we are not an organization which is going to go to another generation of the family or any such thing. It is a legacy that we'll pass on to the country, to the people of the country. And when you hear that, and when you see that he's putting his money where his mouth is, and putting all that effort, and never stepping back despite any kind of controversy or any feedback, he relentlessly went out to do what he felt. He doesn't want any child to go hungry. He doesn't want women to not have the pride in their families. That's how he started the whole Nandgar movement. And he wholeheartedly supported it. I remember at that time the minister was Ms. Menaka Gandhi. We went and met her. She was so excited that we wanted to take the entire program on our own account and do it for the country. I think we
No, no,
started.
Nandgar has won accolades through Sabera as well in the
Yes,
past.
yes, yes.
And the important aspect is, again, with the leader being empathetic. And I remember you telling me that he actually made a remark saying that I know what hunger is. Is
Yes,
that
he did.
correct?
He did. He did. Because he's seen it all. See, he's grown from a place where possibly they had to fight for their living. So I think that is something which he has never forgotten. And my interactions with him have been very warm and very open and very transparent, because once you have a mutual trust, that's where it works for a professional, as well as for a person like him, who probably has to deal with so many people. And I remember him telling me once, saying that I was looking at creating the green logo for the organization well before, many years back. And in fact, the logo today is still that same logo. It has a little leaf in that logo. And he said, Roma, if you're convinced, please kar lo. And he was so fully supportive. We went through an entire exercise, because this was a logo which was manifested by the people of Vedanta. So we had many interactions with the people of Vedanta, and made sure that the generation, the younger generation, feels committed to the organization. And that's how it manifested into that logo, which they have
So
today.
Roma, I have understood from you your experience working with people at the helm of companies who feel for the causes that they are involved in and not just for the sake of it. And I've also, in my personal experience, I feel that a lot of people get into the nonprofit sector, get into doing good or social enterprises because there is some trigger in their life that has actually led them to it. And that's the passion with which they bring to the table and execute the work, or even for Sabera for that matter, even for Women Endangered, and which is a trust now working in the women space as far as their safety is concerned, as far as menstrual health is concerned. Now that is also something very close to my heart, and there are reasons for that. But I want to today understand, how did that transition for you finally kind of happen with the India Deaf Cricket Society? As we know today, is being seen on the front pages of newspapers. I mean, that is amazing, Roma. Kudos to you. Absolutely kudos to you. But I want to understand how that transition happened and how this is going forward.
So I think when I joined Vedanta, possibly 6 months later, or maybe within that year, I got a call from a lady, and she said that I work for a deaf cricket society, which is an NGO based in Delhi. And we would like Vedanta to help us and support us for one of our forthcoming events and with a trophy. So I said, what would that entail? And they said it would be a small amount and we would acknowledge you and we would request you to come and present the trophy either by you or by your leadership. I said, well, this is a good opportunity. I went back to our CSR team and I went to my CEO. And that time it was an expat CEO, Mr. Tom Albany. And I requested him, I said, this is something which is a good cause. While we do a lot of CSR, I think this one is different. This is to do with disability. It is to do with sports, and sports is always a celebration. And in our country, cricketing is a religion. So I said, why don't we at least? This is a small amount for a company like ours, and he agreed. The committee agreed, and then I said, you'll need to go and present it yourself. And he said, yes, I would like to do that and see how they play because they actually play like mainstream cricket. If today you have a normal cricket team, in fact, very recently we had a match with PRCAI team and our team. They were normal cricketers playing with our team. So both of them were at equal opportunities. One game, Indian Deaf Cricket won, and one game, one of the PR agencies won. So they can compete in any mainstream cricket. I didn't know that at that point in time. And unfortunately, Tom could not attend it. So he deputed me to go there and see that match. Suparna, the feeling, I'm not able to express it as much because even today I get choked with emotion on that when I saw them playing, I didn't even realize that there were tears flowing down my eyes without even understanding what was impacting me so much to see them because their cries of joys, I can tell you they can communicate better than you and me. They can make themselves understood in the way they emote, in the way they express. Their playing was superb. I saw them playing like pros. And I said, what are we doing here? And maybe that was that karmic connect with Sumit Jain, who's the president. He's a differently abled cricketer. Then I went into, my own work, got busy with that. 4 years passed away and I was good to retire again from Vedanta. My retirement never comes. And I suddenly see them again coming back to me saying that we are doing a very big tournament in India and India is going to host this deaf tournament in Delhi. Can you help us? So that's when I learned the ropes. And again, it was so touching to see the way my circle of influence came forward, whether it was the Mahindras, whether it was Star Sports, whether it was Viscraft, everybody rallied together for a good cause. And I was overwhelmed with that kind of help that I got. And we had a very successful tournament. And I think this has been a journey with the Deaf Cricket Society then. And in 2020, Sumit decided that just before COVID happened, he decided, let me create a body which can bring in more cricketers together. And he created this apex body of Indian Deaf Cricket Association, where now he has 20 member states of the deaf associations. And there's something very magical about him. I don't know how people rally around him. How do they feel the kind of connect with him? Well, he always says you're like a mother to me, and I can feel that emotion with him. And he
No,
expresses
no,
it.
I've had the opportunity, thanks to you, to interact with them and the team, and I can vouch for it. I mean, I've never seen a live cricket match with able-bodied people, but I really know how it is played because I've attended matches by the India Deaf Cricket Society, and not just in India. I mean, they had state level championships, they have inter-country championships, and Last year they were the world champions. So that in itself, and Roma, from the fact is they were, nobody knew about it
Yeah.
when it started. No one had any clue. And within a couple of years of you joining, now they're on the front page of newspapers. It's amazing. This is not an easy task. I mean, really. And without, you basically have cashed in on the goodwill that you have created as a leader in corporates. And that's exactly what the whole idea of these interactions is also. And Sabera itself is also that you don't really need to wait for the right time, the right place, where you are, how you are. If you decide to do good, if you decide to help out anyone beyond yourself, the universe literally is there to help you, right? Do you feel that?
Absolutely, the universe conspired, in fact, and I'm very, very happy that they could understand what Indian deaf cricket is all about, what disability sport is all about, and how they could support it as a good cause. Because if you know, in CSR, there are not many companies who look at sport as a CSR
Correct.
activity. So
Correct.
that was the challenge for me, to build the brand IDCA and
Because
create
SDG,
confidence.
there is no SDG that kind of aligns with the sports. That's the whole deal, you
Yeah.
know.
So that is why it was a different proposition for me, but I don't know what drove me. Maybe my latent desire to give back to society. That is something which has always been my mother's blessing. She was a teacher of those times in Sindh, when the women didn't even get an opportunity to step out and work. And she came from a clan where they had people who would come and work for them. These women didn't have to even lift a finger. So that kind of background, very feudal kind of background. And she taught me that if I could do it at that time and step out and work, she taught me that you must help others. If
Yeah,
you help
yeah.
others, God will help you.
So
And I think
true.
that has happened.
So true. That's exactly how it is. In fact, over a period of time, I've had a chance to, find my spiritual mentor and read scriptures. And, sometimes I also write notes, little notes, whatever has impacted me. And over a period of time, when you go back to those notes and read them back again, there was one note which read that anything which is done, the cause of misery with so much stress in the world today is essentially because the focus is only on the self. Causes of misery, that was this note scribbled, is when you do things which are selfish. And any cause of pleasure in your life or happiness is because of the work that you have done for the other, which you have done selflessly. So that is also, I keep plugging in Sabera. That is also the reason why we want to, acknowledge people who are doing good work. Despite whatever the challenges are, despite wherever you are, the fact that you have taken a chance, and this is no mean feat, and I'm saying it at the cost of repeating myself as a broken tape recorder, from an NGO or a non-profit at the very grassroots level, who people had no clue about, and getting that within a couple of years, thanks to your mentorship, onto the front page of a newspaper. And also with British commissioners actually reaching out to you saying that through the king's coronation, we want to celebrate this in Calcutta, and we would want India Deaf Cricket Society to be there. These are not small things, Roma. These don't happen with an intent which is marred with selfishness. These happen only when you are selfless in your outreach, and you are as a pro bono CEO for India Deaf Cricket Society. Any last words, and then we'll wrap up this interaction, and I'll be very grateful for your time.
No, but thank you. This has been a very introspective session for me as well, a little emotional. And I feel that I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to what I've got in life. And I would tell people that please do not think any job is beneath you. Please go ahead and take an opportunity, seize it, and you will learn. So, my philosophy has been till today, I'm an internal student. I learn, unlearn, relearn, but at the same time, I'm very grounded that I need to still understand that there is a point of view from the other side, and we should appreciate that accept that, assimilate that. Just this morning, I got a message from Sumit telling me about something. I said, haven't you done a good deed for today? You have helped somebody go into a higher level of a job only because you were instrumental in that. Feel happy about it and congratulate that person. So I think that that kind of nature, that attitude should be there in all of us. Then we can do good. And today, with the world, as you rightly pointed about ESG, the whole world is now at a stage where we need to understand, as you said, not greenwashing, but making sure that we are putting our foot forward, that we help the country define its goal or reach its goal of a net zero country. But for that, you need renewable energy. The government is making all efforts. Climate change has become a hot topic today. Let's not leave it as a buzzword. Let's take tiny steps to make sure that we do it right, we are transparent, we admit our mistakes and correct it. I think the ESG journey has started well in this country. Today, I was just reading that 27% of the companies in India really follow the ESG journey, or they have attempted to do that, which is a small number to start with. And these are all the Fortune 500 companies. Just today's paper said that. I think that that's a journey well started, and we all have we all have to go that path and do what we can, even in a small way. And if we can do it collectively, every drop in an ocean counts. So that's my message to everybody. But stay grounded, stay positive, and always be optimist. I'm an eternal optimist.
Yes, as we have figured through this interaction as well, I wish there was more time and we could continue, but I definitely endorse all Roma's thoughts. And that was also the reason why we started with the Sabera platform. That if you are doing good, and so, Roma has been on the jury for Sabera, incidentally. She's also one of our mentors who keeps giving us feedback and refining the whole process. So we are grateful to Roma for that. So, in case you're doing good, the jury of Sabera wants to acknowledge you and recognize your work, because something that you do in one small part of the country can have an impact or inspire somebody in the other part of the country. So, it is important that acknowledgements happen on a public fora, and registrations for Sabera 2023 are definitely open. If you're an individual organization or a non-profit foundation, social entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. As what matters is the fact that you're doing good and putting India on the road to development. Thank you so much, Roma, for doing this, and hope to catch up with you in person really soon.
All the best, Suparna. You've done great for Sabera, and I'm sure you will go to greater heights. And this coming edition will be also equally successful as you've embarked on this new journey of entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much, Roma. Bye bye.
God bless. Goodbye.